All right. So this will be my first video covering Michigan State. I'm gonna be covering Michigan State this upcoming season. Michigan State, as well as the Hurricanes in Syracuse, right? So, any Michigan State fans that don't have a problem with a new person covering the team, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And I think we'll have fun this year, right? Obviously, first game against FAU, Aiden Chiles gets his first start, and he struggled, right? He struggled, but you saw some of the promise there, right? You saw the arm strength, you saw the ability for him to kind of navigate his way out of bad situations, but again, there were struggles, right? There were struggles. And I think those struggles were amplified by the fact that the run game was not there. Um, Obviously, Lynch was able to break off a big 63-yard run, right up the gut, just broke the back of the defense on that particular run. But other than that, there was not very much there. Nate Carter was pretty much bottled up the entire game, and just looking at some of the instances in which Carter got the ball, like it just seemed like there was just nothing up front. Guys would just simply beat at the point of attack. Nate Carter tackled in the backfield, and again Lynch, again like I said, had a 63-yard run, but for the most part he was bottled up as well. So I think when you have a young quarterback making his first start and is going to be going into this meat grinder of the new Big Ten, they're going to have to get an identity, especially offensively, right? I understand what Coach Smith wants to do based on his tenure at Oregon State, where he wants to be physical up front, kind of, and they did some of that, right? Under the center play action things, trying to, stretch the defense. And I think that can work. It can work at this particular level. But again, you have to start it by getting much more physical up front. And I like what Coach Smith said in the post game presser. Obviously, you have the interviewers that are going to be asking about, well, what do you think about Aiden Smith's? I'm not Aiden Smith, but Aiden Child's performance, and the struggle. And Coach Smith just, DOA. Hey, look, Aiden wants to play better, but so do the other 10 guys on offense, right? We all have to play better, right? Have to be better, and that's essentially what you want the coach to say in the public. You don't want him to, throw the guy under the bus in the first game to kind of kill any confidence that he has moving forward, because it's just one game. There are 11 more games to go, right? But I think that that's going to go a long way, if Michigan State is able to get the run game going, right? Defensively, I thought they played well. Had some trouble with the running quarterback, but our defenses kind of have trouble with the running quarterback. And obviously Malik Spencer ended up getting ejected from the game in the second quarter due to the hit. But throughout the entire game, the FAU quarterback, he had a funny style of just sliding, right? And so it kind of puts you in a lose-lose situation. Obviously, they do have the rule that they implemented after Kenny Pickett. And matter of fact, that was a bowl game against Michigan State. Where Kenny Pickett went into the fake slide, and the defense kind of lit up, and then he got back up and right back on his horse. So now the NCAA like, hey, look, if you do that, there's going to be a penalty. But it doesn't. It really doesn't take away from the aspect of guys are still gonna just go for it. You know what I mean? It's easy to tell a guy to kind of hold up and stuff like that. But when you're in the mix of it, when it's balls to the wall, all of that stuff like that, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to stop. You know what I mean? So that was unfortunate, right? But other than that, defense was able to account for 7 sacks, which I do think that's going to go well. Now you can't expect 7 sacks every game, but if they are able to at least probably average maybe a sack and a half, maybe 2.5 sacks a game, I do think that is good enough to kind of put you in some favorable positions, especially if you're able to get those sacks on those key money downs. Those third downs where it's 3rd and 7, you get a 6 or 7 yard sack, and now obviously they're in punt position, right? Plays like that where the opponent could be in territory and field goal range, and instead of running the ball, they may say, all right, well, look, we feel like we can get them on something quick, and you're able to get a sack. So that was good to see. But I think the biggest thing to take away from this is obviously the lack of the run game, right? Nate Carter and Lynch, that's a formidable duo, right? When you look at it from just the overall Big Ten, obviously it's not Quayshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson. It's not at that particular level, but this is a good solid duo of running backs. And obviously what Coach Smith wants to do in terms of getting the run game going and opening it up on the outside with the play action, which we saw some of that in the game against, FAU, where they got under center, did the play action, and wanted to push the ball down the field. And Aiden Chiles has the arm, the arm strength to do that. Um, the last interception Chiles threw, um, it was just kind of looking at the way the route formulated. Um, that ball probably should have been further to the outside, maybe even just overthrow the receiver, right? Just kind of re-looking back at that particular play because I saw it live when I was watching the game, and then when I went back to rewatch the game, I was able to kind of get a different look at it because when you rewatch it again, you already know what's happening, so now you're trying to see why it happened or how it happened. But kudos to FAU because those defensive backs, they fought hard. They didn't let Michigan State receivers get anything easy. So so that's going to be a good test. And again, it's always great when you have a game like this, where you can look at the positives and you can also look at the negatives and say, okay, these are the things that we need to work on, and even some of the good things. All right, we need to work a little bit. Obviously, we need to work on everything, right? But the negatives, obviously need to work on that, and then the positives, we need to work on them and see if we can make them even more of a positive, right? So whatever went into Lynch getting a 63-yard run, how we blocked it up, whether it was a miscue by the defense or it was just that we blocked it up perfectly. All right, we need to figure out what we can do to kind of replicate that going forward, right? So now, got an upcoming game against Maryland, right? Just kind of looking at their game, they're gonna let it. They're gonna air it out. they're gonna air it out. Felton is going to be a matchup that's going to be looked at. They ran the ball, they ran the ball. They ran the ball pretty well as well. But I think Michigan State will be able to kind of, slow that down a little bit. But again, this is going to be a game where that pass rush is going to have to, make their presence felt. And I'm sure most people are going to be leaning towards Michigan State because, not Michigan State, but leaning towards Maryland in this upcoming game, simply because of their performance, and then the performance of Michigan State, where it's like, okay, where's the offense going to come from, right? So I do think if it's a situation where they are able to, Aiden Child is able to play a little bit better and they can get a little bit more of a push up front, I do think the game will be a lot more interesting. Now, I probably would still go with Maryland in this game. Just being completely honest. Obviously, I mean, I'm watching the team, but it doesn't mean I have to just blindly, feel like they're going to win every game, or be favored in every game moving forward. But there are some concerns, right, that they're going to have to get corrected in a very short time, right? I think the FAU game, in theory, um, it would have probably been nice if Aiden Childs could have had maybe a Traylon Green type of debut, where Traylon Green went out there and just lit it up. You know what I mean? But I think maybe they would have gave people maybe a false sense of hope to say, okay, well maybe he's ready. He's plug and play. So I do think that him struggling the way that he did, it keeps him relatively grounded and it keeps him ready to go. But if he's able to correct, just some of the issues, because you can't expect him to correct all of those issues, right? Obviously, because it's impossible to say, okay, well, he struggles this particular game, and then we expect for him to come back our next game and just look like a completely different quarterback, right? We can't expect that. So slow and steady progression throughout the rest of the season, I do think is going to be the key for Aiden Childs. And again, like I said, if they're able to get the run game going and their defense can continue to play the way that they played, um, yeah, Michigan State could have a very, very solid first year under Coach Smith. Again, Angelo Gross led the team in tackles from the safety spot. So it's going to be interesting, right, to see whether or not he continues to be that much of a presence in that. But again, kind of looking at the way FAU ran their offense, just a lot of uh, design and non-design quarterback runs. So obviously it left the safeties and people in the backfield in a position to make those type of plays. But I'm interested to watch this game though. I really am. I'm really interested to watch this game, to watch how it unfolds. Because again, um, like I said, 7 sacks. So I mean, you can write home about that. And we know Maryland's going to want to throw the ball. So, like I said, if the defensive line, the defensive front can be disruptive, you can make this game interesting, right? And that's going to be a key for Michigan State in this game. They're going to have to make Maryland play their game, not because if Maryland is able to control the lines of scrimmage on both sides, if they're able to dictate what's going on, then I see Michigan State having no chance of making this game close because they're not going to be able to go shot for shot, point for point with Maryland. They're just not going to be able to do. Based on what we just saw against FAU, they're not going to be able to do that. So the best thing for them is to try to make this game low scoring. They need to make this game physical. They need to get the run game going. Um, Even if they have to call, some more run plays for Aiden Chiles, they have to try to keep the ball out of Maryland's hands as much as possible. And when Maryland does have the ball, try to force 3 and outs. Right? Obviously, it's going to be hard. You can't you can't guarantee that every single possession, but obviously that's the mindset going out there. Because again, if Maryland is able to go out and just do what Maryland wants to do, then this is not going to be a good game. It's not going to be a good game because again, kind of looking at Aiden Childs, I think Aiden Childs, like most people, is a super competitor, and what I mean by that is it's kind of hard for guys that are super competitive and super competitors that if they feel like, regardless of coaching, regardless of what kind of is the play call or what you're supposed to do, they may start to force things to overcompensate. And that just exacerbates the problem even more. So I think it's going to be, again, like I said, it's going to be imperative, like Coach Smith said, for the other 10 guys on offense to step up along with Aiden Childs to kind of make this game interesting, right? Um, but again, like I said, I probably would lean more so towards Maryland this particular game, even though Michigan State probably can make this game interesting, right? Again, like I said, it's gonna be a very tall task to ask a team to do something that they didn't show that they were able to do the first game. And like I said, that's running the ball. So obviously they get in, watch the film, work this week, you know what I mean? And, they should be ready for Saturday. But like I said, I think I would probably lean more towards Maryland this upcoming game. But I do think Michigan State can make it more interesting if their defense is able to get some pressure on the quarterback and they can show that they can run the ball just a little bit more. Give themselves an opportunity to make this a game, right? But with that being said, man, that's all I got. Um, we'll have the next week. We'll have just the synopsis of the game. See kind of what happened and everything like that. But like I said, man, we'll be covering Miami, which I'm a Miami fan, so it is what it is. But we'll be covering Michigan State and Syracuse this upcoming year. So like I said, if you like the content, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see y'all next week.